I never anticipated that the mountains could conceal such darkness. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and the distant calls of unseen creatures. As I trudged through the underbrush, my boots sank into the soft, loamy soil, each step echoing the weight of my decision to venture deeper into this treacherous terrain. I'm Elena Ramirez, a seasoned explorer and former ranger, with a thirst for adventure that often led me into the unknown. This time, my destination was Taal, a majestic yet foreboding volcano in the Philippines, renowned for its breathtaking views and steeped in local folklore. I had come to uncover its secrets, to stand atop its summit and gaze into the abyss of its caldera. But first, I needed a guide, someone who knew the mountain's hidden trails and whispered tales. Ramon was that guide. He was wiry, his skin weathered by years under the sun, and his eyes held a depth that hinted at untold stories. As we set off together, I felt a mixture of excitement and tension. The mountain loomed tall and imposing, its peak shrouded in mist. But there was something in Ramon's demeanor that unsettled me. He frequently glanced over his shoulder, a shadow lurking behind his usually confident facade. It wasn't long before he spoke of the Diwatas, the spirits believed to inhabit the sacred grove at the mountain's base. He warned me, his voice low and trembling, about the sacred nature of this place. They demand respect, he said, eyes wide with urgency. Many who venture too close never return. I dismissed his warnings, attributing them to the superstitions of a culture woven tightly with the land. As we pressed on, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew colder, a stark contrast to the tropical warmth I had expected. An eerie humming sound began to fill the silence around us, vibrating through my bones. I looked at Ramon, who had gone pale, his eyes darting nervously among the trees. "We should turn back," he urged, his voice barely above a whisper. "This place, it's not right." But I was determined. "We can't stop now. We're so close," I insisted, driven by the thrill of discovery and a stubbornness that had often led me astray. I could see the path ahead, winding through dense foliage, leading us deeper into the heart of the mountain. With every step, the humming intensified. The trees around us seemed to lean in, their gnarled branches twisting like skeletal fingers, reaching out to ensnare us. I pressed on, my heart racing, not from fear, but exhilaration. I was an explorer. I thrived on the edge of danger. Suddenly, Ramon stumbled, his foot catching on a root hidden beneath the underbrush. Time seemed to slow as I turned, reaching out for him, but it was too late. He fell, a gasp escaping his lips as he disappeared into the shadows. Panic surged through me, a tidal wave of dread washing over my senses. "Ramon!" I shouted, my voice echoing in the stillness. There was silence, an oppressive quiet that swallowed my cries. I rushed forward, heart pounding in my chest, but the undergrowth seemed to resist me, tangling around my legs, slowing my advance. As I reached the spot where he had fallen, my breath caught in my throat. He was gone. The earth had swallowed him whole. And then I saw them. Figures began to emerge from the trees, tall, ethereal beings cloaked in mist. They glided towards me, their forms shifting like smoke in the wind. I felt an icy grip of fear clutch at my heart as I stumbled back, instinctively reaching for the compass that hung around my neck. It spun wildly, the needle dancing erratically, as if sensing something I could not. "Ramon!" I screamed again, but the words shattered against the wall of silence. The beings moved closer, their features indistinct, yet I could feel their gaze piercing through me. They were beautiful and terrifying, a haunting blend of grace and menace. In that moment, I understood the fear etched in Ramon's eyes. The mountain demanded a sacrifice, and it had claimed him. I turned to run, adrenaline flooding my veins, propelling me forward as I fought against the tendrils of despair wrapping around me. The compass spun wildly in my grip, a reminder of the man who had guided me here, now lost to the very place I sought to conquer. The trees seemed to close in around me, their branches clawing at my skin as I navigated the treacherous underbrush. I could still hear the humming, a mournful song that resonated deep within my bones. I ran blindly, driven by sheer instinct, my heart pounding in rhythm with the chaos surrounding me. What had I awakened? What spirits had I angered by disregarding? The warnings? As the forest swallowed me whole, I could feel a part of me being pulled back, tethered to the mountain that demanded blood. I stumbled into a clearing, the moonlight breaking through the canopy above. I collapsed to my knees, gasping for breath, my mind racing to comprehend the horror of what had just unfolded. The compass lay in my palm, spinning endlessly, a reminder that a part of Ramon was still out there, trapped in this cursed grove. Why? Did I insist on going further? I gasped. The weight of my choices crashing down upon me. The chilling realization settled in. The mountain wasn't just a destination. It was alive, a guardian of its secrets. And now it wanted me too. With trembling hands, I clutched the compass, feeling its pulse against my skin. I had come seeking adventure, but what I had found was something far more sinister. The mountain had claimed its due, and it would not be satisfied until it had taken more. I crouched in the clearing, trembling as the echoes of my choices reverberated through my mind. The compass spun wildly in my palm, a relentless reminder of Ramon's fate and the darkness that lurked within the mountain's depths. I had to make a choice, and each option weighed heavily on my conscience. Panic surged through me, but beneath it lay a flicker of determination. I could not leave Ramon behind. He had trusted me to lead him into this adventure, yet the chilling reality gnawed at my resolve. Every moment I hesitated, the mountain tightened its grip. The decision felt like a noose around my neck. Either I pressed on, risking my own life, or I turned back, leaving a friend to whatever fate awaited him in the shadows. The humming had ceased, replaced by an oppressive silence that enveloped the grove. I felt the pull of the mountain, an almost magnetic force urging me to delve deeper into its secrets. "What would you do, Ramon?" I whispered to the empty air, hoping for guidance from the man I had failed. But all I had was a hollow ache of regret. Gritting my teeth, I made my decision. I couldn't abandon him. I had to confront whatever malevolent force had drawn him into this abyss. With the compass clutched tightly, I stood, the weight of my choice settling over me like a shroud. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, the trees closing in around me, as if to embrace my resolve. As I navigated the winding path ahead, the forest began to shift again. Shadows danced in my peripheral vision, and I felt eyes watching me from the darkness. The air thickened, each breath a struggle against an unseen pressure. I pressed on, driven by the need to uncover the truth. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of movement. I turned sharply, heart racing, only to find a figure lingering just beyond the trees, a woman, ethereal and radiant, with hair cascading like silver threads. She beckoned me with an outstretched hand, her fingers curling invitingly. "Ramon?" I called, hope surging within me. But as I stepped closer, the figure's expression shifted from inviting to sinister. A deep, resonating laugh echoed through the grove, sending chills down my spine. "You seek what cannot be found," she whispered, her voice a haunting melody that wrapped around me like a vine. "The mountain demands more than you are willing to give." My heart sank. This was a trap. I stumbled back, realizing that the beauty before me masked a malevolent presence. "What do you want?" I shouted, anger mingling with fear. "Let him go. He didn't deserve this." The figure merely smiled, a twisted grin that sent shivers down my spine. "He is part of the mountain now. You cannot take him back." With that, the laughter echoed again, and I felt a darkness sweep over me, colder than before. I turned to flee, but the trees seemed to shift, blocking my path. My breath quickened, panic rising like bile in my throat. "Think, Elena, you need to find another way," I urged myself. I fumbled with the compass, desperate for direction. It spun faster, the needle a chaotic blur, leaving me disoriented. As I backed away from the figure, I stumbled into a deeper part of the grove. where the trees stood taller, their trunks twisted and gnarled. The air felt charged, electric, with a sense of foreboding. This was no ordinary forest. It was a sacred ground, and I was an intruder. Suddenly, the ground beneath me shifted. A low rumble vibrated through the earth, and I fell to my knees. A fissure opened nearby, revealing a chasm filled with shadows. I could hear whispers rising from its depths, calling to me, taunting me. "Join us, Elena. Embrace the darkness." I shook my head, fighting against the pull of despair. It was a choice: succumb to the mountain's lure or resist, even if it meant facing the unknown. I could feel the weight of my decision pressing down like the very earth above me, stifling and oppressive. With a surge of defiance, I grabbed a nearby branch, using it as a makeshift weapon. I would not go quietly into that darkness. I had come too far, and I owed it to Ramon to keep fighting. "I will find you," I shouted into the abyss, determination igniting within me. "I will not let you take me." Just then, another figure emerged from the shadows. "Ramon," I gasped, heart racing with hope. But as he stepped into the moonlight, I realized something was wrong. His eyes were vacant, a hollow shell of the man I had known. "Elena," he murmured, his voice a mere echo of its former self. "Help me." A wave of horror washed over me. This was not my friend. It was a puppet of the mountain, a reflection of its insidious power. "Ramon, fight it!" I cried, desperation clawing at my throat. "You have to resist." But his gaze remained vacant, and I could see the shadows swirling around him, pulling him back into the darkness. I was faced with another choice. Could I save him, or would I be drawn into the same fate? The thought gripped me with icy fingers, paralyzing my resolve. "Leave now, Elena," he cried, his voice breaking. "It's too late for me. You must go." The urgency in his tone ignited my instincts. I had to act quickly, to break the hold the mountain had on him, on both of us. "Hold on, Ramon," I shouted, lunging forward. The shadows writhed, reaching for me, but I swung my branch, striking at the darkness. "I won't lose you." A blinding light erupted from the compass, illuminating the grove. The shadows recoiled, and I felt a surge of power course through me. "This is not your domain," I screamed, channeling every ounce of my will into the light. "You will not take him." In that moment, the forest erupted into chaos. The trees thrashed, the ground shook, and a powerful wind howled through the grove. I held onto the light, refusing to let it fade, while Ramon's figure flickered like a dying flame before me. "Fight it, Ramon! Come back!" I shouted, feeling the connection between us strengthen as the light pulsed in rhythm with my heart. I could see the struggle within him, the flicker of recognition beneath the haze of darkness. But just as it seemed he might break free, the shadows surged once more, pulling him back into their depths. With a final desperate gasp, he shouted, "Elena, please, save yourself!" The pain of his words pierced through me, igniting a new resolve. I would not let fear dictate my choices. I took a deep breath, the light in my hand intensifying as I stepped closer to the chasm. I could feel the energy radiating from the compass, and I knew I had to embrace it fully. "Together, Ramon. We can fight this," I cried, letting the light envelop me, merging with my very essence. The shadows recoiled, their hold weakening as I stood firm, refusing to be swayed. The mountain trembled, the grove alive with energy, and I felt the weight of my choices bearing down upon me. I had come seeking adventure, but now I sought something more profound, a chance to reclaim a friend, to break the bond that had ensnared him. As I stood my ground, I realized that the true conflict lay not just within the mountain, but within myself. I had to confront my fears, my doubts, and my past mistakes if I were to save Ramon, and perhaps in doing so, save myself. As I stood at the precipice of the chasm, the swirling shadows tugging at my resolve and the light radiating from the compass illuminating my path, my mind began to drift back to moments that had shaped my life. Memories surged forth, intertwining with the present and revealing the deeper layers of my struggle. I remembered the first time I had set out into the wilderness as a young girl, hand in hand with my father. He had been a ranger too, instilling in me a love for nature and a respect for its untamed spirit. "The mountains are alive, Elena," he would say, his voice rich with passion. "They hold secrets, but they also demand respect. Never take them lightly." His warnings echoed in my ears now, a haunting reminder that I had ignored these lessons in my quest for adventure. The memory brought with it a pang of guilt. Had my ambition blinded me to the dangers that lay ahead? I could almost see my father's kind eyes, filled with concern, urging me to listen, to heed the warnings of those who understood the land better than I did. I had always prided myself on my independence, but now, with Ramon trapped in the clutches of the mountain, I questioned whether my choices had been selfish. The shadows around me writhed, as if sensing my inner turmoil. I had to act quickly. Time was against me. The longer I lingered, the stronger the darkness would grow, and the more tenuous Ramon's grasp on reality would become. I felt the pressure of the moment, the urgency to confront my fears and reclaim my friend, but also to confront the very essence of who I was. Just then, from the corner of my eye, I noticed something glimmering amidst the underbrush. A small charm, intricately designed with symbols I recognized from my childhood. It was a token my mother had given me, a protective amulet meant to ward off evil spirits. She had told me stories of the Dewatas, the spirits of the forest, and how they could be both benevolent and malevolent. "Always carry this with you, Elena," she'd said, "for the spirits can be fickle and you must be prepared to face them." With trembling hands, I picked up the charm, a wave of nostalgia washing over me. I had abandoned it years ago, dismissing it as mere superstition. But now, as I clutched it tightly, I felt a surge of warmth spread through me, a reminder of my roots and the wisdom passed down through generations. This was not just about saving Ramon, it was about reconciling my past and acknowledging the ball. Lessons I had long forgotten. The shadows around me flickered, momentarily revealing glimpses of my childhood, playing in the woods, listening to my parents' stories, and learning to respect the very nature I now sought to conquer. I could feel the connection to my family strengthening, anchoring me as I faced the darkness. "I will not let you take my friend," I declared, holding the charm firmly. "You will not take me either." With renewed determination, I turned back to the chasm, focusing on the flickering figure of Ramon. He was still fighting, his struggle evident in the way he swayed between the shadows and the light. I could see the remnants of the man I knew, the laughter we shared, the adventures we had embarked upon, all flashing before me like a slideshow. Each moment underscored the importance of our bond and the stakes of my choices. "Ramon, listen." "To me," I shouted, my voice cutting through the oppressive silence. "You have to fight. Remember our time on the river when you taught me to navigate the currents? Remember how we faced that storm together?" I searched his face for recognition, for a spark of the man I had come to rely on. "You're stronger than this?" "Fine." Shadows hissed, a sound like 1,000 whispers swirling around me. I felt their grip tightening, but I refused to back down. I had to believe in the strength of our connection. The time I spent recalling our shared experiences brought clarity to my purpose. I was not just fighting for Ramon, but also for the memories that shaped us both. Suddenly the ground trembled again, and I realized the urgency was escalating. The shadows were closing in, and I had to act fast. I needed a plan, a way to break the hold the mountain had on him. The compass pulsed in my hand, its energy guiding me toward a revelation. "Think, Elena," I urged myself. I recalled the stories my mother told me about the Dewatas, how they could be appeased with offerings, how respect and acknowledgement could sometimes bridge the divide between worlds. What if I could reach them, I thought, hope igniting within me. What if I could make peace? I looked at the charm, then back at Ramon, still trapped in the shadows. If I can show them I respect this place, maybe they will give him back. It was a long shot, but desperation had become my ally. "Spirits of the mountain," I cried, raising the charm high above my head. "I come not as an intruder, but as one who seeks to understand. I offer my respect and my remorse for the trespasses I have made." The words echoed through the grove, carrying my sincerity into the depths. The shadows hesitated, swirling around me like a storm caught in limbo. I could feel the tension in the air, an electric charge that crackled with anticipation. I focused on Ramon, willing him to hear my plea. "You must come back to me," I shouted, my voice a mixture of fear and hope. For a moment there was silence, and then the shadows began to recede, reluctantly releasing their hold on Ramon. I could see the flicker of awareness in his eyes, the recognition of our connection breaking through the haze. "Elena?" he whispered, his voice barely audible, but it was enough to ignite a spark of courage within me. "Hold on, Ramon. We're almost there," I urged, the charm glowing in my grasp. I could feel the warmth of my family's love surrounding me, strengthening my resolve. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of rage, but I stood firm, determined to push through. With one last surge of energy, I thrust the charm toward the chasm. "I offer this as a token of my respect," I shouted, letting the light from the compass combine with the charm's glow. The air shimmered, and the shadows recoiled as if burned by the light. In a blinding flash, Ramon was pulled back into the light, collapsing before me, breathless but alive. I rushed to his side, wrapping my arms around him, feeling the warmth of his body against mine. "You're back," I cried, relief flooding through me, washing away the fear that had gripped my heart. The shadows hissed, retreating into the darkness, leaving only the echo of their whispers behind. The grove felt lighter, the oppressive weight lifting as if the mountain itself had acknowledged my offering. As I held Ramon, I realized that the journey had transformed me. I had faced my past, my fears, and my choices, weaving together the strands of my life into a tapestry of resilience and hope. The mountain had tested me, but in that trial I had found strength, not just for myself, but for those I loved. The air was thick with tension as I knelt beside Ramon, relief flooding over me like a wave. The shadows had receded, but the mountain felt alive, its presence looming over us like a silent judge. I could sense it watching, waiting for the next move. The trees rustled ominously, their branches twisting in the wind, as if whispering secrets I was not meant to hear. "Are you all right?" I asked, my voice trembling, as I helped him sit up. His eyes were filled with confusion, the remnants of the darkness lingering in their depths. I could see the flicker of awareness returning, but there was something more, a spark of fear that settled deep within me. I think so," he replied, his voice hoarse, "but we need to get out of here. The mountain, it doesn't want us to leave." His gaze darted around, and I felt the weight of his words settle like a stone in my stomach. Before I could respond, a low rumble echoed from deep within the mountain, vibrating through the ground beneath us. My heart raced as the trees began to shake, their roots visibly shifting as if trying to uproot themselves. The forest was reacting to our presence, no, to our survival. "Run!" I shouted, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I grabbed Ramon's hand, pulling him to his feet as the ground trembled violently. The trees creaked and groaned, their branches snapping like brittle bones. We sprinted forward, weaving through the underbrush, desperate to escape the chaos. But as we fled, the path ahead began to shift and twist, the very landscape morphing around us. It was as if the mountain was rearranging itself, creating barriers that pushed us back toward the heart of the grove. Shadows darted between the trees, and I could feel the presence of the spirits closing in. "Where do we go?" Ramon gasped, panic creeping into his voice. "It's like it's alive." "We have to find a way out," I yelled, my mind racing. The urgency of the moment fueled my determination, but fear gnawed at the edges of my resolve. The mountain was testing us, pushing us to the brink. Then, just as despair threatened to consume me, I spotted a glimmer of light through the trees. A clearing, perhaps. "This way," I urged, pulling Ramon along as we barreled toward the light. But as we approached, the ground shook violently again, and a fissure opened up at our feet, splitting the earth like a wound. Without thinking, I leaped across the gap, pulling Ramon with me just in time. We landed hard on the other side, panting heavily as we turned to face the chasm that now separated us from the darkness. But the relief was short-lived. The trees in the clearing began to warp and twist, their trunks bending unnaturally as if trying to escape from an unseen force. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, stepping into the moonlight. It was the ethereal woman I had encountered earlier, but now she was transformed, her beauty marred by an expression of rage and sorrow. "You should have left," she cried, her voice reverberating through the air. "You have awakened forces you cannot control." I felt a chill run down my spine as her words pierced through the chaos. "We didn't mean to intrude, we just wanted to—" I started, but she cut me off with a wave of her hand. "Your presence has sealed your fate," she hissed, and the ground beneath us trembled once more. The shadows surged forward, rushing toward us with a malevolent hunger, and I felt the weight of the mountain pressing down, suffocating. In that moment, I realized the truth. It was not just Ramon who was trapped, it was me as well. The mountain had ensnared us both, feeding off our fear, our guilt. I could feel the darkness wrapping around my heart, squeezing tighter with every passing second. "No!" I shouted, drawing on every ounce of strength within me. "We will not be your sacrifices." I stepped forward, standing between Ramon's and the advancing shadows. "You want respect? Then let us show you." The woman's eyes narrowed, and for a moment I saw a flicker of uncertainty cross her face. "You cannot bargain with what you do not understand," she sneered, but there was a hesitation in her voice that sparked hope in my chest. I took a deep breath, recalling my father's teachings. "This mountain is a part of us, just as we are a part of it," I declared, feeling the warmth of my charm pulsing against my chest. "We honor its power, but we will not be its victims." The shadows hesitated, swirling around us like a storm caught in limbo. I could feel the energy shifting, a crackle of electric tension in the air. The woman regarded me with a mix of intrigue and disdain, her expression wavering as if she were caught between two worlds. "Very well then," she said slowly, her voice laced with bitterness. "If you wish to confront the mountain, then you will face its true nature." With a wave of her hand, the ground beneath us began to morph, revealing a hidden passageway that led deeper into the heart of the mountain. A gust of wind rushed past, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and the distant echo of whispers, voices of those who had come before us. "What is this?" Ramon asked, his eyes wide with fear and curiosity. "The path to truth," the woman replied, her tone ominous. "But beware, what you find within may shatter you." I felt a ripple of doubt wash over me, but I steeled myself. This was the turning point. We could choose to confront the darkness, to face the mountain's true nature, or we could turn back and be consumed by it. I glanced at Ramon, seeing the determination in his eyes mirrored my own. "We have to go," I said firmly, resolving to fortify our bond against whatever awaited us. Together, we stepped into the passageway, the shadows swirling behind us as we ventured into the unknown. The passageway was dark, the air thick with an ancient, musty scent that clung to my skin like a shroud. Each step I took echoed in the silence, a reminder of the uncertainty that lay ahead. I could feel Ramon beside me, his presence both a comfort and a source of tension. The weight of our choices hung heavy in the air, and I could sense his unease. As we moved deeper into the mountain, the shadows seemed to pulse and sway, alive with energy. I could hear whispers echoing off the stone walls, a cacophony of voices that sent chills racing down my spine. "What have we gotten ourselves into?" I murmured, my heart pounding in my chest. Ramon's hand brushed against mine, and I felt the warmth of his touch grounding me. "We're here together, Elena. We'll find a way out," he said, his voice steady despite the fear etched on his face. but I could see the flicker of doubt in his eyes, and it mirrored my own. Suddenly, the walls of the passageway began to shift, the stones vibrating as if responding to our presence. I could feel the mountain's heartbeat, a low thrum that resonated deep within me. It was unsettling, as if the very stone was aware of our intrusion. My breath quickened, and I fought to maintain control, focusing on the sensation of Ramon's. Hand in mine. Stay close, I urged, tightening my grip around his fingers. The path narrowed, and I stumbled slightly, catching myself against the cool stone wall. My heart raced, the sound echoing in my ears like a drumbeat of impending doom. I could feel the mountain's energy swirling around us, and with it came a wave of anxiety that threatened to overwhelm my senses. Look, Ramon pointed ahead, and I followed his gaze to a faint light flickering in the distance. It danced like a flame, illuminating the darkness just enough to reveal the contours of the passage. A surge of hope washed over me, but it was quickly overshadowed by an undercurrent of dread. "What if it's a trap?" I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. "We have to find out," Ramon replied, his determination evident. His grip on my hand tightened, and I could feel the strength of his resolve anchoring me. Together we forged ahead, moving toward the light that beckoned us deeper into the unknown. As we approached, the passage opened into a vast chamber. The east walls adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to pulse with energy. The flickering light danced across the surface, casting shadows that twisted and turned, creating shapes that were both mesmerizing and terrifying. I could feel the power of the mountain thrumming beneath our feet, a force that demanded respect. "Wow," Ramon breathed, his eyes wide with awe and fear. "This place, it's incredible." I nodded, but unease gnawed at my insides. The beauty of the chamber was overshadowed by the realization that we were intruders in a sacred space. The whispers grew louder, swirling around us like a storm. I could feel the pressure building, the weight of the mountain pressing down, as if it were testing our resolve. "Do you feel that?" I asked, my voice shaking. "It's like it's watching us." "Yes," Ramon replied, his brow furrowed. "We need to be careful. This is not just a place, it's alive." The light flickered again, revealing a stone altar at the center of the chamber, adorned with offerings, flowers, fruits, and trinkets left behind by those who had come before us. My heart sank at the realization that these were tokens of respect, gestures that I had failed to honor on my journey. The mountain had demanded a sacrifice, and we had trespassed without understanding the consequences. As we stepped closer, the air crackled with energy, and suddenly the ground shook violently beneath us. I stumbled, falling to my knees as the chamber erupted in chaos. The offerings on the altar swirled in a whirlwind, rising into the air as if the mountain itself were reclaiming what was rightfully its own. "Get back!" Ramon shouted, pulling me to my feet as the wind howled around us. The light grew blinding, illuminating the chamber with an otherworldly glow. I shielded my eyes, heart racing with fear and confusion. "Why is this happening?" I cried, feeling the panic rising within me. "We didn't mean any harm." The whispers intensified, swirling around us like a tempest. I could hear fragments of words, warnings, accusations carried on the wind. "You have awakened us!" they cried, and I felt the weight of the mountain's fury bearing down upon us. "Ramon, we need to leave," I shouted, but he stood frozen, staring at the altar. "Wait," he called, his eyes wide with recognition. "Look at the carvings." I turned to see the images etched into the stone, figures of people kneeling before the altar, their hands raised in reverence. There were depictions of the Dewatas, their forms ethereal and beautiful, watching over the offerings. "They're guardians," I realized, feeling a flicker of hope. "They protect this place." But before I could process the implications, the chamber erupted in a deafening roar. The ground shook violently, and I felt a surge of energy, a pulse that reverberated through my body. The altar began to glow, the light intensifying until it became blinding. I shielded my eyes, heart racing as the shadow surged around us once more. "Hold on!" Ramon shouted, grabbing my hand as we stumbled back toward the entrance. The energy surged around us, a tempest of light and shadow that threatened to consume everything in its path. I could feel the mountain's anger, a force that demanded acknowledgement and reverence. "Please," I cried out, desperation clawing at my throat. "We respect this place. We mean no harm." My words echoed in the chaos, swallowed by the roar of the mountain. In that moment, the energy shifted. The shadows hesitated, swirling around us as if considering my plea. I felt a spark of hope igniting within me, but it was quickly overshadowed by fear. Would my words be enough? Would the mountain allow us to escape, or had we gone too far? Suddenly, the light from the altar flared, and a figure emerged from the brilliance. A woman, ethereal and radiant, her form flickering like a flame. It was the same woman who had warned us, but now she stood before us, her expression one of sorrow and understanding. "You have come seeking answers, but you must recognize the power of this place," she said, her voice resonating through the chamber. "Respect must be earned, and choices carry weight." I felt a wave of shame wash over me, the realization of my own hubris crashing down like a tidal wave. "I'm sorry," I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. "We were reckless. We should have listened." The woman nodded, her gaze softening. "Acknowledgement is the first step, but the mountain demands balance, and you must choose wisely." With those words, the shadows began to recede, the chaos subsiding as the energy shifted. I could feel the weight of the mountain lifting, the tension in the air transforming into a palpable sense of understanding. "Together, we must restore what has been disturbed," she said, extending her hand toward the altar. "Offer your respect, and the mountain will grant you passage." Ramon and I exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between us. This was our chance, our opportunity to mend the rift we had created. We stepped forward hand in hand, approaching the altar. As we knelt before it, I felt a surge of energy course through me, a connection to the land and its spirits. With trembling hands, I placed the charm I had found earlier on the altar, the protective amulet that had once belonged to my mother. "We offer this as a sign of our respect," I said, my voice steady. "We acknowledge the power of this place and the spirits that dwell within." In that moment, the chamber radiated with light, the energy swirling around us like a protective cocoon. I could feel the mountain responding, acknowledging our gesture. The shadows began to dissipate, and the whispers transformed into a harmonious melody, a song of acceptance and understanding. As the light enveloped us, I felt a profound sense of connection, not just to the mountain, but to Ramon and to the lessons I had learned on this journey. We had faced darkness and emerged stronger, united in our resolve to honor the land we had so carelessly challenged. The light from the altar enveloped us, a warm embrace that washed away the remnants of fear and doubt. As the shadows receded, I felt a profound shift within my heart. The mountain had tested us, pushed us to our limits, and in that crucible of chaos, I had discovered something invaluable, the strength of my spirit and the depth of my connection to those I loved. Ramon and I stood together, our hands still intertwined, as the chamber settled into a peaceful stillness. The whispers had transformed into a soft hum, a melody that resonated with the heartbeat of the mountain. I glanced at the altar, now serene, the offering shimmering with a gentle light. It was a moment of clarity, a realization that the journey had changed me irrevocably. As we stepped away from the altar, I felt a new sense of purpose coursing through my veins. The mountain was not just a physical challenge, it was a reflection of my inner struggles. I had entered this journey seeking adventure, but I had found so much more, lessons in humility, respect, and the importance of connection. "Are you ready?" Ramon asked, his voice steady, filled with a newfound strength. I nodded, feeling the resolve settle in my bones. We had faced darkness and emerged stronger, but new challenges awaited us, and I was ready to confront them. We turned to leave the chamber, But as we stepped back into the passageway, I felt an eerie stillness envelop us. The atmosphere had changed again, the air charged with an unfamiliar energy. "What's happening?" I asked, unease creeping back into my heart. "I don't know," Ramon replied, glancing around, his expression shifting from confidence to concern. "But we need to keep moving." The passageway seemed to twist and turn, leading us deeper into the heart of the mountain. The shadows lingered at the edges, but now they felt different, less threatening and more curious, as if they were observing our every move. I could sense the mountain watching, waiting to see how we would navigate this new challenge. Suddenly, the ground beneath us began to tremble once more. A low rumble echoed through the passage, and I felt the vibrations resonate through my body. "This isn't good!" I shouted, adrenaline surging as I grabbed Ramon's hand, urging him forward. We ran, the walls closing in around us, the shadows flickering as if alive. As we sprinted, I felt the energy of the mountain pulsating around us, a living entity that demanded our respect. I could hear the whispers again, but this time they were not filled with anger. They were filled with urgency. "Hurry, find the light," they urged, guiding us through the chaos. With every step, I felt the fear dissipate, replaced by a determination that surged within me. I had faced the darkness, and I would not let it consume me again. "We can't give up," I yelled, my voice echoing in the narrow passage. "We're stronger than this." Ramon nodded, his expression fierce as we pressed on. "Together," he shouted, and I felt the strength of our bond propelling us forward. The shadows danced around us, swirling like a tempest, but we were unyielding, determined to find our way through. As we rounded a corner, the passage opened into another vast chamber, this one filled with a brilliant light that illuminated the stone walls. It was breathtaking, a shimmering expanse that seemed to stretch endlessly, a stark contrast to the darkness we had just escaped. The light felt welcoming, beckoning us closer. "Look at that," Ramon exclaimed, pointing toward the center of the chamber. There stood a magnificent crystal, pulsating with energy, casting rays of light that danced across the walls. It was mesmerizing, and I felt an irresistible pull toward it. "Do you think it's safe?" I asked, hesitating at the edge of the chamber. The crystal radiated power, but I could sense the weight of the mountain's presence still lingering in the air. "We have to find out," Ramon replied, his eyes sparkling with excitement and determination. This could be the key to understanding everything. With a deep breath, I stepped forward, feeling the warmth of the light enveloping me. The moment I approached the crystal, a rush of energy surged through my body, igniting a spark of realization within me. It was as if the mountain was granting me clarity, allowing me to see beyond the surface of my fears. I reached out, placing my hand against the cool surface of the crystal. A wave of energy coursed through me, and suddenly visions flooded my mind. I saw images of past explorers, their faces filled with awe and respect as they stood before the crystal, offering tokens of gratitude and reverence. They had understood the balance that was necessary to coexist with the mountain. In that moment, I realized what I had to do. I had to honor the mountain's gift, to acknowledge the power it held. The journey was not just about survival. It was about understanding the delicate balance of nature and the responsibilities that came with exploration. "Ramon, we need to leave something behind," I said, my voice filled with conviction. "We have to show our respect for this place." He nodded, understanding the weight of my words. "What do you have?" he asked, searching through his pack. I reached into my own bag, pulling out the charm that had guided me through the darkest moments. It was a symbol of my connection to my family, a reminder of the lessons learned. "I'll leave this," I said, holding the charm up to the light. "It's a token of my respect and gratitude," Ramon smiled, pulling out a small compass, his father's, a tool that had guided him through countless adventures. "And I'll leave this. It represents my journey and the bonds I've formed along the way." Together we approached the crystal, placing our tokens at its base. As we stepped back, the energy surged, and the chamber pulsed with light, enveloping us in warmth. The shadows retreated, and I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me. In that instant, I understood that our journey had transformed us. We had faced the darkness, and through our actions, we had chosen to embrace the light. The mountain had tested our resolve, but it had also gifted us with wisdom, a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. As the light dimmed, the chamber settled into a serene stillness, and I turned to Ramon, my heart swelling. With gratitude? "We did it," I said, tears stinging my eyes. "We faced the darkness together, and we made it through." He smiled, his eyes reflecting the light of the crystal. "We're stronger than we ever knew, Elena. This journey has changed us both." We stepped back into the passageway, hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The mountain may have tested us, but it had also opened our eyes to the beauty of connection, respect, and the strength that comes from facing our fears together. The atmosphere in the passageway shifted again, a palpable tension thickening the air as we moved deeper into the mountain. The light from the crystal pulsed softly behind us, but ahead lay darkness that felt almost sentient, as if it were waiting for us to make a misstep. Every instinct in my body screamed that we were approaching something monumental, something that could either liberate us or consume us whole. "Stay close," I whispered to Ramon, my heart pounding in rhythm with the echoing footsteps. The whispers from the shadows had faded, replaced by a low, ominous hum that vibrated through the stone walls. I could feel the mountain's energy coiling around us, a serpent ready to strike. As we pressed on, I recalled the stories my mother had told me about the Dewatas and how they protected their realms. "Respect and balance," I murmured to myself, the words a mantra I clung to. Each step felt heavier, laden with the weight of our previous choices and the consequences they had wrought. Suddenly, the passage opened into a vast cavern, the ceiling lost in darkness. The air was thick with moisture, and the sound of dripping water echoed eerily. At the center of the cavern stood a massive stone statue, its features worn but still majestic, a guardian of the mountain, perhaps. My breath caught in my throat as I took in the sight. "What is this place?" Ramon asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I think it's a shrine," I replied, stepping closer to the statue. As I approached, I noticed inscriptions carved into the stone, ancient symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. They told a story of a powerful spirit bound to the mountain, a protector that had once brought harmony to the land. But as I studied the inscriptions, something shifted in my mind. "Ramon," I said, a cold realization creeping over me. "What if this shrine is a reflection of the balance we disrupted? What if the spirits are angry because we've ignored their warnings?" He stepped closer, his brow furrowing as he examined the carvings. "You might be right. We've been so focused on our own journey that we've forgotten the consequences of our actions." The ground trembled beneath us, and the statue began to crack, fissures appearing as if the very earth were protesting our presence. "We have to do something," I shouted, panic surging through me. "This might be the heart of the mountain. If we don't restore balance, we could unleash something terrible." Ramon nodded, urgency igniting his features. "We need to offer something meaningful, something that represents our commitment to respecting this place." I glanced at the offerings we had left at the crystal, a fleeting thought of doubt creeping in. "What if it's not enough?" I asked. "What if we've already crossed a line we can't uncross?" "Then we fight for it," Ramon said, determination hardening his expression. "We've come this far. We can't back down now." The statue roared to life with a thunderous sound, the cracks widening and revealing a swirling darkness behind it. The whispers returned, louder and more chaotic, drowning out reason. "You have awakened the guardian," they cried, and I felt the weight of their fury bearing down on us. "And it demands retribution," a voice boomed from the shadows, echoing through the cavern like a tempest. The darkness coalesced, forming into a figure that loomed before us, a manifestation of the mountain's wrath. It was a shadowy silhouette, indistinct yet undeniably powerful. We stood frozen, the enormity of our situation crashing down like a tidal wave. The figure leaned closer, and I could feel its cold breath on my skin, a chilling reminder of our vulnerability. "You have trespassed upon sacred ground and defiled the balance," it intoned, each word resonating with fury. "No, we came to honor the spirits," I shouted, desperation clawing at my throat. "We didn't mean to disrupt anything." The figure laughed, a sound that echoed through the cavern like shattering glass. "Your intentions mean nothing in the face of your actions. To restore balance, a sacrifice must be made." Ramon's hand tightened around mine, his grip a lifeline amidst the chaos. "We're willing to make amends," he declared, his voice steady despite the fear that threatened to overtake us. "We will do whatever it takes to restore harmony." But as the words left his lips, a realization struck me like lightning. "Ramon, wait!" I exclaimed, fear coursing through my veins. "What if the sacrifice it demands is one of us?" His expression shifted, a flicker of dread flashing in his eyes. "No, it can't be. We won't let it take anyone." The figure loomed larger, its presence suffocating. "The choice is not yours to make," it hissed, shadows swirling around. "It like a storm. You have awakened the wrath of the mountain, and now it seeks its due." I could feel the ground trembling beneath us, the very essence of the cavern vibrating with danger. "What if we offer the truth?" I shouted, the idea bursting forth as I grasped at straws. "What if we confess our mistakes and promise to honor the spirits from this moment on?" The figure paused, the shadow swirling hesitantly. "Words hold little power. Only actions can restore what has been lost." In that moment, the pieces began to fall into place. I remembered the carvings, the stories of explorers who had come before us, how they had honored the spirits, how they had understood the delicate balance. "Then let us prove our commitment," I urged. "We will dedicate our journey to this mountain, to the spirits that dwell within. We will become guardians ourselves." Ramon's eyes widened, and I could see the realization dawning upon him. "Yes, we can share our story, our lessons learned, and advocate for respect and balance in the world beyond these walls." The figure hesitated, the shadows flickering, as if contemplating our offer. "To become guardians is a heavy burden," it warned, its voice reverberating through the cavern. "You must accept the weight of your actions and the responsibility of protecting this realm." "Yes," I affirmed, my voice steady and resolute. "We are ready to bear that weight. We will honor the spirits, and we will teach others to do the same." The cavern fell silent, the energy shifting as the figure regarded us with a mix of scrutiny and curiosity. The tension hung thick in the air, as if the very fabric of the mountain was holding its breath. And then, in a moment that felt both fleeting and eternal, the shadows began to recede, the figure's form blurring, as if it were being absorbed into the stone itself. "You have chosen wisely," it intoned, the voice shifting to a softer tone. "If you are true to your word, the mountain will accept you. But know this, the path of guardianship is fraught with challenges, and failure will not be forgiven." As the figure faded, the cavern brightened, the statue before us glowing with a radiant light. The whispers transformed into a harmonious melody, a song of acceptance and understanding. I felt the weight of the mountain lifting, the atmosphere shifting as if it had released a long-held breath. Ramon and I exchanged a glance, a mixture of relief and determination flooding over us. We had faced the darkness, and with our commitment, we had chosen to embrace the light. But in the back of my mind, I knew that this was just the beginning. As we stood in the heart of the mountain, I realized that our journey had transformed us in ways we had yet to fully understand. The challenges ahead would test us, but together we were ready to face whatever came next. The air crackled with energy as the cavern transformed before our eyes, the shadows retreating into the stone walls, leaving a trail of luminescent carvings that glowed with ancient wisdom. The statue at the center pulsed with light, a reminder of the pact we had just forged. But even as the tension lifted, I felt a gnawing unease in my gut, an instinct that told me we were not yet free from the mountain's grasp. "Ramon, Stay alert, I whispered, scanning the cavern for any signs of danger. My heart raced, adrenaline coursing through my veins. We had faced the Guardian, but what if something more sinister lay in wait? The mountain had tested us, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was far from done. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath us, the vibrations intensifying as cracks appeared in the stone floor. "What now?" Ramon shouted, his voice tinged with urgency. "Get back!" I yelled, dragging him away from the altar as the tremors grew stronger. The statue began to shift, the once stable structure now bending and flexing as if it were alive. The light from the crystal dimmed, and a deep rumble echoed through the chamber. In an instant, the statue crumbled into dust, revealing a swirling vortex of shadows and light. The air filled with a deafening roar, and I felt the very essence of the mountain swirling around us, threatening to pull us into the abyss. "This is what it warned us about," I cried, my voice barely audible over the chaos. "Hold on." Ramon shouted, pulling me toward the walls of the cavern. We pressed ourselves against the cold stone, but the vortex threatened to engulf us. I could feel the pull of the darkness, the shadows whispering promises of power and fear. "Fight it," I urged, my heart racing as I struggled against the force that sought to consume us. "We are not your victims." But just as I felt the shadows closing in, a blinding light erupted from the crystal, illuminating the chamber with a brilliance that momentarily halted the vortex. The shadows recoiled as if stung, and I felt a surge of energy coursing through me. "This is our moment," I shouted, a newfound determination igniting within me. Ramon nodded, his expression fierce. "We have to channel the energy. It's our only chance." Together, we reached for the light, feeling its warmth envelop us as we directed it toward the swirling darkness. "We choose to honor the balance," I shouted, pouring every ounce of strength into my words. "We accept the responsibility. That comes with our journey." The vortex hesitated, the shadows flickering as they battled against the light. I could feel the energy of the mountain responding to our declaration, the vibrations shifting as if the very foundation of the cavern were realigning. The whispers morphed into a powerful chorus, urging us on. "Now!" Ramon shouted, and we thrust our hands forward, unleashing the light with all our might. A brilliant beam shot forth, colliding with the vortex, and in an explosion of energy, the darkness shattered like glass. It was a moment of pure chaos and clarity. The cavern lit up, blindingly bright, and I felt the weight of the mountain lifting. The shadows dissipated, retreating into the cracks of the stone, leaving behind a profound silence that echoed in the aftermath of our confrontation. As the light faded, I found myself gasping for breath, my heart racing. The cavern was transformed. The swirling chaos was gone, replaced by a serene glow that radiated from the remnants of the statue. But as I looked around, a chilling realization washed over me. "Ramon, look!" I pointed toward the ground where the darkness had been. Instead of the stone floor, there was now a shimmering portal, swirling with colors that defied description. "What is that?" "I don't know," he replied, his expression a mix of awe and fear. "But it could be our way out, or something else entirely." As I stepped closer, I felt a pull, an invitation to step through the portal. "Do we dare?" I asked, uncertainty gnawing at me. Ramon's eyes were wide with wonder. "We've faced so much already. If this is our way to make things right, we have to try." With a deep breath, I took his hand, and together we stepped into the swirling light. The moment we crossed the threshold, the world around us exploded into a kaleidoscope of colors and sensations, a whirlwind of energy that engulfed us completely. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, everything went dark. When the light returned, we found ourselves standing at the edge of the mountain. The familiar landscape stretched out before us. The air was crisp, and the sun shone brightly overhead, illuminating everything with a golden glow. But it was not the same place we had left. It was transformed, more vibrant, alive with energy. "What just happened?" Ramon asked, bewildered. "I think we did it," I replied, a sense of disbelief washing over me. "We restored the balance." As we looked around, I noticed changes in the environment. The trees seemed greener, the flowers more vibrant, and the air filled with our sweet scent of blooming life. It was a stark contrast to the darkness we had faced within the mountain, a sign that our actions had reverberated beyond the cavern. But even as I marveled at the beauty before us, I felt the weight of our journey pressing on my shoulders. This was not just a victory, it was a responsibility. We had made a pact with the mountain and its spirits, and now it was up to us to honor it. We need to tell others about what we experienced, I said, determination swelling within me. We have to share the importance of respecting nature and the balance we have to uphold. Ramon nodded, his expression resolute. Agreed. We can't let our journey be in vain. We have to advocate for the mountain, for the spirits that dwell within it. As we walked down the familiar path, I felt a sense of purpose guiding me forward. I had transformed through this journey, not just as a seeker of adventure, but as a guardian of the stories and lessons that the mountain had imparted. Each step felt lighter, filled with the promise of new beginnings and the hope of making a difference. The journey had changed us, and the world around us reflected that change. We were no longer just explorers. We were stewards of this land, committed to preserving its beauty and respect for the spirits that watched over it. With every step, I felt the weight of our choices intertwining with the essence of the mountain. We had faced darkness, but we emerged into the light, ready to share our truth and honor the legacy of those who had come before us. As we reached the base of the mountain, I glanced back at the peak, a sense of gratitude swelling within my chest. We survived, I murmured, the words a quiet acknowledgement of the journey we had undertaken. But sometimes I wonder if we truly left that place behind. Months passed, and our advocacy efforts took root. We spoke at schools, community gatherings, and conservation groups, sharing our story and the importance of respecting nature. The mountain thrived, its beauty preserved, and our bond grew stronger as we committed ourselves to a shared purpose. Yet, in quiet moments, I still felt the pull of the mountain, a reminder that our journey was far from over. Join us on this journey of exploration and discovery. Reflect on your own experiences with nature and the stories that shape your understanding of the world. Share your thoughts and insights, and together, let's advocate for the beauty and balance of our environment. If you enjoyed this story, click to see the next adventure that awaits, where we dive into the mysteries of the ocean and uncover the secrets of the deep. It's a tale of courage, friendship, and the unbreakable bond between humanity and nature.